Her main research interests lie in translation studies, pragmatics, intercultural communication, and ELT methodology. Professor Vîlceanu is president of the Romanian Society for English and American Studies and member of the European Society for the Study of English. English board. She has attended numerous international conferences in country and abroad, a keynote speaker in many of them, and authored more than 70 papers and 5 books. She has participated in 12 international interdisciplinary research programs and international network projects. She is a member of the advisory board of the Annals of the University of Craiova, and she is also one of the co-editors of a history of translations into the Romanian language. Last but not least, she is the head of the Translation, Terminology and Corpus Analysis Research Laboratory, Faculty of Letters, University of Craiova. I should have said last but not least, Professor Titela Vîlceanu is our dear friend. So thank you very much, Professor Vîlceanu, dear Ella, for coming to Timisoara. We have many joint research and didactic projects, and I would like now to give you the floor.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and first of all for the opportunity to be here today within this framework. Thank you, the co-organizers, too, especially Daniela Toma. Yes, Professor Dejica is right. We network here in Romania, especially in translation studies at different levels, not only with regard to bachelor's, master's program, but also doctoral studies. And I think that we'll find new avenues for our research and applying the result to the market which needs that. My presentation today is entitled Enhancing Translation, Empowering Translators and Clients through the Dynamics of Trust. The main areas of research which are targeted: knowledge management, competence studies, translation studies, is going towards a more integrated framework of translator studies, an emerging subfield starting with some incipient efforts 2009. So the key words that we have to bear in mind when aiming to empower translators, especially from the perspective of universities as providers of translation training programs: knowledge management as with direct impact towards shaping the translator's competence, and of course translator's ethics. Setting the scene, we have to acknowledge that knowledge management, competence, ethics, translations are also shaped by dynamics of trust between them, of productive interfaces. So therefore, we envisage a multi-layered approach: knowledge, typology of knowledge, and knowledge management. Competence, especially with a focus on process rather than product, and situatedness and knowledge management in translation is to derive ethical and, of course, usable models of translation. The rationale of empowering translators via dynamics of trust is because we all know that we are living in the knowledge-based society, and knowledge has become, for translators too, a strategic resource. On the other hand, it is well known that ever since its birth date in 1972, we know with Holmes, translation studies has become an interdiscipline, harmonizing various inputs from various other disciplines not only social sciences and the humanities, and that for the past decade, translation studies is said to become a transfer science due to this knowledge management and many interfaces with some other applied sciences. So, as Professor Saint Amand underscored before, it is about establishing some behavior patterns which are predictable to a certain extent in order to accurately assess the impact of translation and its use to a society which more and more is technology enhanced. So main fields of research: translation studies, knowledge management studies, competence studies, ethics towards legitimating or further legitimating translator studies. Statement of the problem: our research builds on an in-depth analysis of the need to build an integrated model, as I have already explained. Three main objectives that we have in mind: to provide an integrated model and an ever-expanding integrated model, to establish the importance of knowledge management in translation, especially in specialized translation, to identify the mechanisms and patterns of knowledge sharing behavior in translation. As research methodology, a review of mainstream literature and case study. As far as translation management is concerned, so knowledge should be envisaged as going beyond savoir-dire and even beyond savoir-faire. I have provided different definitions of knowledge for you to understand what's the starting point and what's the end point, if there is ever an end point to this. So I started from Anderson's claim that there are two basic types of knowledge, namely declarative knowledge, knowing what and knowing that, so the descriptive level. And secondly, procedural knowledge, knowing how and knowing why. I would add sharing knowledge, so maybe there would be some other type that we should have in mind. So, of course, the idea was taken over by several other researchers and refined, which clearly leads towards its usability. Also, translation knowledge management should be defined as the process of organizing, storing, sharing, and utilizing the knowledge and information relation to translation activities, especially within an organization. Therefore, we have to envisage, besides this conceptual toolkit, a methodological toolkit, and also some procedures of how to apply this knowledge management process. Translation-related knowledge and management, of course, includes terminology, style guides, use of technology, but it doesn't stop here. Common approaches to translation knowledge management in translation: use of translation memory software, of course, creation and maintenance of terminology databases, and I would add benchmarks too, style guides, and establishment of workflows and processes for translation project management. Translation project management, knowledge management, is also related to quality assurance. Yeah. Again, something which you will see in the next slides of my presentation is a dynamic process, because we keep defining and redefining the performance indicator alongside the criteria. By empirical research mainly, and by mapping research to the market. Effective translation knowledge management includes ongoing maintenance and continuous improvement to ensure that it remains relevant and effective in meeting the needs of the organization or of the clients. So from knowledge to competence. Towards a working definition of competence, besides the very rich literature, where also some finely grained distinctions are made, for instance, between skill versus competence, but this is not highly usable in practice. If we want to go granular, okay, we can have skill only as a one-off event, I mean associated with a particular task which the translator will accomplish in a particular setting. Otherwise, we use competence as a very general term, but also all-encompassing term, as attitudes, values, besides knowledge and skills are embedded in the very notion of competence. Huge interest in this distinction and in defining competence, not only from research, I mentioned only a few of the names of the researchers, but also with bodies and policymakers, for instance, European Qualification Framework. With regard to translation competence, the very fact that the human factor, I mean the translator, has not been in focus so far is exemplified and supported by the numerous denominations of translation competence. Generally we have translation translators, only a few of them and quite recently. So it varies from translation ability to translation performance, for instance. If we look at the list that I have compiled, competence is the most frequent word based on the very idea that it is an all-inclusive term. Of course, we should envisage competence as coming in degrees, depending on the experience, not only on the expertise of the translator. I have discussed several models of translation competence to see how research and policymakers, because I interconnect the two areas at the end to understand how the EMT competence model emerged and how research also managed to inform at least the policymakers. So we start from Hurtado Albir's 1999 model of translation competence, where the keywords become practice, training and exposure to diverse translation tasks will lead to the translator's competence of much value and exploited in translation training programs, so important for universities. Then Kelly's macro competence model, we already defined competence as at the macro level. We are not interested in granular micro levels. This model is also important for translation training programs, but especially for professional practice. As you can see, it will be replicated also in further models, and especially lies at the foundation of the European Masters framework in translation. KO model of translation competence, which is also overarching but with a special focus on cultural and subject-specific knowledge. She devoted her interest almost exclusively to legal translation as a branch of specialized translation. Hansen, which I need to say, it's a leading figure and a dear friend of the Polytechnic University of Timisoara. She was awarded Dr. Honoris Causa here at the Polytechnic of Timisoara. Very strong collaboration between the colleagues here and the scholar. Again, a macro model in itself, but as new model take over, they emphasize some other dimension which was reflected in the previous ones. Hansen's model focuses on the cognitive and reflective aspects of translation. So it is process oriented because we should understand that translation, even if the client sees it as a product, should not be evaluated only as a product. There is a lot of thinking and reflection and coming back and forth during the process until the end product is delivered, sometimes with close collaboration between the translator and the client to achieve the intended results. So Hans's models clearly defines the dimensions along which translation trainees can develop critical thinking, decision making as a part of a revision in professional translation practice. Gyopferic's model of translation competence, which is abbreviated as TransComp, again focuses on the process and on the professional development of the translation. So process orientation becomes the key to a successful translation. It is a roadmap of various skills, among which strategic thinking, routine building, the reusables that we have to rely on in the translation process, first of all due to cost effectiveness, and self-assessment in translation, holistic. I can go on without the presentation, but I would like you to see some slides to keep focus. All right, thank you. So, analyzing and integrated the common core of all these models, we have to say that university programs ambitiously aim to train translators so as to become expert translators, able to build macro strategies, integrate information in text production. Again, I do align with your statements that translation is about text production rather than text reproduction, so the translator should be envisaged as a product developer, yes. Make choices, yes. Sometimes you have to make choices, and you know, I mean, people in the market will reinforce the idea that it is against time, it is against deadlines. Self-managed through a reflective approach, I mean, career responsibility. And responsibility, I mean, accountability of your own work and about the status of prestige of the job that you have to maintain. So, knowledge management perspective of competence, all the discussions can be, we have, I mean, a breakdown along 3 lines. Translation competence is mainly deriving on linguistic grounds. A multi-componential translation competence, and you know this is the democratic view, I mean the majority, which we also embrace, and translation competence is just one thing, so that's in the middle, but we will discard the other options. Translator studies in the making. As I have emphasized in the beginning, translator studies is an emerging field or subfield of translation studies with a clear orientation on the translator's behavior, not only process-oriented translation but also career management. First time acknowledged, and the term also launched by Chesterman. Then it sparked some interest, for instance, in Cook, Imre, and kind of let all but the last authors focus only on literary translators. There is also the concept of translatorship, just to grant the deserved authority to the translator, especially with regard to the fact that the author of a text, not with specialized translation but with literary translation, is widely recognized, but translatorship implies more than translators' authority, like the writers. It is also about translators' accountability to the client, to the market. Okay. Within the well-established discipline of translation studies, translators who are focused in research on rare occasions, mainly when discussing their competence, with a view to designing competence-based curricula and assuring translation quality. In order to enforce translation-centered approaches, we need a paradigm shift in translation studies, which has happened for the past decades. I mentioned Chesterman is the founding father of this shift from translation sociology to translation ecology, to provide valuable insights into how translators experience and navigate their work environment and the challenges associated with the profession, of course, in terms of trust and empowerment. So again, translation should be seen as a process, first of all, and then as an end product to be evaluated and used by the beneficiaries. Trust from clients, of course, impacts on the translator's behavior, yes, because they will feel much more encouraged to take creative liberties and ensure high quality translation, not only as a motivation factor, and impact their skill set development too. I mean, they will more eagerly and proactively pursue career development if also entrusted by their clients. Also in point of if we can establish some behavior patterns, this trust will lead to more accurate and culturally sensitive translations and streamlined communication, seamless as you pointed out. Building and strengthening trust should nevertheless be seen as dynamic, taking time, yes, and being complex and shaped and reshaped beyond managing expectations from the translators and from the clients alike. Therefore, the evolving roles, competencies and responsibilities of human translators and language professionals need to be reassessed. Empowering translators and clients through the dynamics of trust EU perspectives. I will go very fast through this because we will know what, at least here in Europe, policy makers have done for the translation market, but also for the translator training program across universities. There have been several large European funded projects to harmonize curricula across universities. For instance, my university was part of such a project called Optimal, which gathered together 73 universities from the whole Europe. We harmonized the curricula back to 2013 and keep networking ever since. European quality standard for translation services, providing guidelines, valuable guidelines and criteria for assessing quality, because it is important to be objective when evaluating criteria. What is important to note here that this standard for the quality of translation services was established bottom-up, I mean informed from data processed from the market in close collaboration with companies, freelancers and other policy makers. It is opposed to the general quality standard ISO, yes, which covers the translation process. You see also the quality assurance standards and guidelines are process oriented rather than product oriented. Where I mean, coming back to ISO, translation services provision are defined top-down, yeah? But it is important to see the common core. I mean, it is about traceability. Traceability, that means having and processing data from the whole process of translation. Then I mentioned the new international standard for translation, which is more comprehensive, interconnected to the European standard. Again, yes, this shows the evolution of the evaluation of translation, and also of, although not very visible, the process of empowering translation. Again, procedural, know how, know when, and why performing a translation. So procedural knowledge, remember, which is goal-oriented, is emphasized with these standards too. I've mentioned several times during my presentation the fact that the EMT, European Masters in Translation Expert Group, and reference provided several reference frameworks. The first one in 2009, defining competence, defining curricula, but not only curricula, but also the methodology associated with how to implement this curricula and how to update knowledge so to keep up with the market development. And this is very well known to researchers. I hope to the market too, because I told you this is based on studies involving the market too. It's a wheel of competencies. It goes round and round. It was then reshaped, refined in 2016, and it is said to be applicable for the period 2018-2024. So we will be expecting another model soon. Yeah? It is intended to be a simple functional competence framework. It is not simple, it is complex, it is, but it is simple to use as a guideline and check not only competencies targeted at least by training programs, but also the learning outcomes. They are very well related in the latest model provided by the European Commission. I have drawn a comparison between the two models, and my main conclusion is that the latest model, I mean the one launched in 2016, its usability is increased by the provision of correlated standards and performance indicators, which is much more helpful to translation trainees at least. But the European Commission, especially via the dedicated units, Directorate General for Translation, and we have our own entity in Romania. We are very happy to have them here and help and support us at all times. Also provides some other knowledge as a resource to be used by translators, besides the general EU information about the institution, because legal translation seems to be prevailing nowadays on the market in Europe, European legislation, contractor guides, because we all know that besides the in-house, staff translators working with the European Commission, many of the translations are outsourced. Imagine that it wouldn't be possible to have this done only in-house, as 8 million pages are translated at the European Commission per year, legal translation. Style guides, which is very important, and it is also very important because these are paired for the various languages making up the European portfolio, and all the campaigns that are provided for clear writing or clear English for EU translators, especially because they are dealing with legalese. Language-specific information, terminologies and glossaries, some of them, for instance, IATE, which is said to be updated daily and validated. All the terms that are rated and validated. And a case study in Romania to see how this works and how translator training programs in Romanian universities map the market and try to be closer and closer to the market by identifying the tangible needs of their communities. The project is called TEW, Translation Enhanced Social Innovation and Internationalization. I'm very happy and proud to tell you that at my home university, University of Craiova, we have been for 6 years developing a program together with Ford Fund America, which has recently rebranded as Ford Philanthropy. They invested more than $2 million in such projects with our university only. We are counting 39 projects nowadays. These projects are designed to, first of all, accurately identify the tangible and immediate needs of the communities, local communities, and to see how these needs can be met in sustainable ways. So we were very glad when a translation project was approved, because it is somehow difficult, or this is emerging in Romania, to see the connection between translation and the social entrepreneurship. Okay. So TEW's journey, they started in 2022, yes, as a social entrepreneurship program. I told you, funded by the American body, but in fact this is a consortium between the university, local authorities, and Ford Fund America. TEW addresses local and regional community needs in order to support social innovation and internationalization through technology-enhanced translation interpretation services, while securing equal access to high-quality remote translation interpretation services, as a tangible need, especially in the aftermath of the COVID-19. The rationale and scope of the project, telling you some things about our local and regional community. For the past years, the internationalization efforts intensified in the local community, powered by the need to consider internationalization as a highly effective way of economic development, of raising the quality of life. Several international and multinational companies are based in Craiova and act as big employers, not only Ford, while others pursue international outreach. So focusing also on the social cultural sector or life, we have to mention that Craiova is on the map the agenda including several large-scale events, well attended, such as the International Shakespeare Festival, which starting from this year will be organized annually. This is the second largest Shakespeare festival in Europe. The Mihai Eminescu, it's the iconic poet of Romania, International Poetry Festival. The social focus, yes, is largely due to the fact that the unemployment rate is high, unfortunately, in the region. Last year it was about 5%. And many people seek job opportunities abroad. Therefore, the need for translation of administrative documents has been created, and especially for people coming from vulnerable backgrounds. The same applies with medical translation. For instance, people being referred to healthcare services abroad and needing translation of medical documents or interpretation services, which of course they can't afford. So an integrated framework of action. So it's actionable. Social dimension, as I mentioned, socioeconomic dimension, especially by targeting small and medium-sized companies, and the professional training component. The team, the TESI team, have been delivered so far 7 workshops to train, cascading, to train younger colleagues and develop some digital skills, especially with the remote technology, for translation remote technology that they are using. 3 main goals: raise awareness of the importance and role of translation interpretation skills in supporting social innovation and internationalization, provide equal access to high quality translation or interpretation services, and provide professional development opportunities for students. As I mentioned, why it is also about innovation, yeah? Because it came to meet a necessity in the COVID-19 pandemic, when mobility was limited, because it also uses cutting-edge technology and develops further skills with translation trainees too. As in action, some events that I organized, workshops and campaigns. As main conclusions, we need to have a holistic approach to the translators' competence status and roles in order to empower translators. And we need to reinforce the cooperation and make it closer and between translators, academia, the industry and policy makers. And I kindly invite professionals here in the room and elsewhere to come to universities. We come to the market, yes, but we would like this to be more proactively pursued by all the parties involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Vîlceanu, for a thought-provoking and enriching presentation. Before I give the floor for questions and comments, I would like to make a joke.
I translate it.
After your presentation, I managed to define the term incompetent. An incompetent person is someone who is extremely competent at doing nothing, right? Or not doing certain things in a very efficient and professional way. So it's easy to be incompetent. And we have all seen what it takes to be competent. And what differentiates a person who speaks foreign languages or who holds a dictionary from a professional translator. So thank you very much Ella, for this keynote presentation, and now the floor is yours.
Hello, so I will stand up, I just feel uncomfortable if I sit down while asking questions. So my question would be, I love the TESI program, it's very interesting. I was just wondering, maybe you remember, did the program identify literary translations also as a need of the community? Because I'm very concerned when I saw the latest figures for Romania, and reading percentages, let's say, dropped quite a lot. So people who read a book each week, once a week or something like this. So do you happen to remember if literary translations were identified as a need of the community?
Yes, I don't happen to remember, I know, because I'm in very close contact with the team. I do take care of this project, that's so very dear to me. No, unfortunately, it was not identified as a need of the community, although you are right, it can be linked to social entrepreneurship and catering quality services to the community. This is another large critical issue to discuss in Romania, yes, where literary translation figures, yes, you are right, have dropped recently, basically due to the various policies, and also because there is no incentives system. To my mind, yes, because I've researched this together with my doctoral students for various theses submitted and defended so far. The main problem is that there is no cooperation between the literary market and the understood as products to be, there is no process orientation, products to be sold. There is no cooperation. There are a few well-established, famous translators, generally coming from the academia, or literary people themselves, famous writers in Romania. I don't give names, I'm not allowed to. Yes. And they have somehow monopolized the market in this respect. Although, if you read the paratext associated with translation, literary translation, because this is important to see the impact of the literary translation, you are perfectly right. So we do translate, yes, to a lesser extent, yes. For who do we translate? Yes, if on the other hand, yes, there are also statistical data showing that people no longer read serious imaginative literary text fiction, whatever we might call them. So maybe, yes, there is a missing link.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Please, I'm sure that there are so many questions and comments.
Yes, please.
I'm very interested because I didn't have the opportunity while I was studying. Are the students getting all the training they need, considering the development of the translation process as such? Are they familiarized early enough with the computer-assisted translation tools? Do they get the opportunity to learn from university already to use the term bases and the translation memories and all these stuff, these things that are essential when they are planning to become a translator afterwards? This is the one question. And maybe the second regarding the literary.
Can I have the answer first and then?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Because thank you for the question. This is complex and I would like to elaborate a little bit on. This is the ideal scenario, yes, in which universities could provide, I mean, due to financial reasons, could provide such training beforehand. I mean, anticipating and being proactive. Okay, we would like to do that, so we couldn't. That's why we envisage some other lines of action like these projects, yes, in order to train our students before getting out to the market. And the technology, to with specific reference to TEW showcasing this, the technology was bought via the project, and they also benefited from training in how to use the technology during the project training, specialized training from engineers in close collaboration with teachers from the university and teachers involved in the translator program.
Yeah, thank you. And the second issue, because people were addressing the literary translation, I think are students very interested in literary translation? Because I almost never get literary translations to do. And you have to be very lucky because people are not reading as much as we would like. So the government doesn't give money enough to support translation. And generally, literary translation is regarded as a lesser translation than all the others. While I see literary translation is the one translation where CAT tools cannot take over so far. And this is like the less paid translation. So I am guessing that students know this and don't even try starting translating literature.
Yeah, thank you for this question too. Yes, you are right. They are interested in literary translation in spite of the fact that they have to navigate all these challenges. That's why I'm saying there is a missing link which we should address together. Yes? Because they want to study, they pursue literary translation, at least at university level, even for doctoral studies, but the demotivating factor, to my mind, demotivating factor for them is that they are not integrated to the market. I told you, if we count, there are few well-known literary translators in Romania, which come up the favorites in the history of ever with the main publishing houses which have in their portfolio literary translation. I am not allowed to give names of the publishing houses.
The publishing houses, if they have a pool of translators, which I find very frustrating, like 3 weeks, or everything has to be in a
something
rush,
which I don't
doesn't
understand.
allow a translator who wants to do his job properly to do it properly.
Exactly, especially because the interest is rising in this. I mean, at least students in language and literature and also in translation program are genuinely interested in pursuing a career in literary translation. So we need some regulating mechanisms to keep a balance and have new inputs on this market. Thank you.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm trying to get up from all the things that I have here. I have a question relating again to literary translations. How much do the students still read in Romania? Because from my understanding, the young generations nowadays don't read as much in Romanian, which means they don't have the knowledge to properly translate literature into Romanian. And sometimes the level of the way that they write in Romanian is, let's say the quality is going down. So what's your opinion on that?
You are right, it's a gap. Yeah. Basically, we have to divide, as we divide loyalties in translation, we have to divide the blame here. It's also the system. You know that in high school they are required to read less and less literary text. I mean, and they don't develop their reading skills sufficiently. But what is strange is that they have developed their reading skills in English. Yes, because in literature too, you will be amazed. Yes, because go to contests in English, even with the contests involving literary text reading. Because in Romania they target international certification of their language skills, mainly Cambridge exams or TOEFL or whatever, and they are the teachers, English teachers, you know, have a different methodology as compared to Romanian language teachers, which is which is different. Here with English teachers, yes, we are fortunate to say this. Their creativity is encouraged. They are encouraged to read. They are encouraged to engage, not only involved in all kinds of extracurricular activities. And if you have a look at the number of school contests dedicated to public speaking, to literary text reading or some other kind of text reading, you will understand that they are able to read literature. We are fortunate, and they transfer this when performing literary translation. And of course that we need to upgrade their skills in this respect. Yeah? We do that in a focused way. I mean, by showcasing with a particular writing and with particular techniques and strategies that they can reuse with some other literary text by knowing the guidelines.
Sorry, just a comment. I perfectly understand Daniela, because that's what we need actually at the European institutions as well. So people who are able, people who are able to write well in their own native tongue. That's actually one of our key requirements for trainees, for example, and of course for any new colleague. So it would be great for universities to also enhance this kind of training in Romanian.
And encourage the transfer of skills.
Yes, exactly. And exactly as Daniela said, so reading actually builds up both vocabulary and the specific style, the topic, syntax, etc. of your own language. This needs to be reinforced somehow by theater, by anything. Yeah.
Because we are promoting here literary translation and the literary translator, that's our focus today. Yes, this is something to keep in mind and to be our focus in the future. Maybe, as I have already kindly invited you to keep closer and do some things together. Because we've got the resource, we have to channel and marshal the students towards this.
Okay, we have two more questions.
How many statistics exist on people who read fiction, or are there any statistics on this topic? I'm just curious about the evolution or involution of this.
Yes, unfortunately not. Even with literary translation, if you want to provide some statistical data, you have to do empirical research, which for instance I have done with several research papers that I've published. Generally speaking, literary, publishing houses, for instance, interested in literary translation and literary market, advertise only their services, and from time to time the books, that have been recently launched on the market. And the impact on the reading skills overall, is not known, although there are some statistics provided by the Ministry of Education in which they, on the contrary, blame the system for not being able to provide functional readers. Yes, unfortunately, Romanian school children, are rated very low, in European classifications as not being functional. I mean, not illiterate genuinely. I mean, they know how to read, but they don't understand.
If I I may add something on this topic. Eurostat is the European Union's office specialized in statistics. And they actually have a few, some data, as you say, not a lot, but you may find some
For
stuff.
instance, with literary translation, I
Yes,
checked.
exactly,
The data has not been updated since 2017. So for 7 years now.
Agnes?
Yes, it's just a comment to the discussion about Romanian or a thought. As we companies or even the European Commission maybe go to universities or universities come to us to discuss the needs. For example, we would like to have more students knowing castles or I don't know, knowing terminology or I don't know, specialize a little bit to be more prepared for the market. Maybe since we give this input to you now during this conference, just like we do in our collaboration, in our roundtables, universities can go to high schools through this change of ideas, because maybe we don't directly have this link to high schools, and I think it's not the university's place to teach Romanian or to have some sort of, I mean, it's not yours, maybe, I don't know, or maybe it is if there's a Romanian English study, but the core should come from high school, the basics, the base knowledge, and maybe the universities can and should give this input towards high schools. I don't know, are there such roundtables? Or I know you go to recruit people.
Yes. So I'm processing the whole question. I'm trying to give.
It's not a question. It's just a comment, a thought. So.
Yeah, it's an exchange of ideas, and in fact, we are tapping on the same needs and trying to leverage our knowledge, connections, and resources. Yeah. As far as I am concerned, I mean, this is my opinion. Unfortunately, in high schools, I don't think how they can do this, maybe via some optional courses which they are allowed to integrate in the curriculum, because otherwise, you know, the curriculum and the syllabus is defined in rather strict terms by the Ministry of Education, and they have to comply with the curriculum due to the national standardized examination that follow at the end of the cycle. But yeah, it's doable to my mind in some other extracurricular ways. I mean, creating common events or networks. One possible way in which you can give your valuable input, I mean, companies, yes, and insights would be to talk not only to the universities, because we do come to you, you know, we have internships for translation students, and these are based on some protocols of collaboration, I mean, in which we do try to cater to your needs, and we want our students to have a hands-on approach to the trade. Yes. Another possible way it would be to strengthen collaboration between you, the market, us, the universities, but I mean all of us, and the national associations, because universities have done a lot also for the market when the national associations in Romanian, APIT and DAFIT, National Association of Translators and the National Association of Interpreters, and also with the help of the Director General of Translation, changes, we managed more than 10 years ago to change something for the market. Remember, starting from that very date, you are a sworn translator, yes, is no longer required to have the signature legalized for every translation that he or she provides. He or she is a professional, okay, they assume responsibility for what they are doing. Why should they need to have this as a legalized translation, which places another financial burden on the client?
May I also add a comment, please? Because I think it is also just now in the last few years, many try not even to pursue the profession as a translator because everything you hear everywhere is that AI is taking over. So I mean, very many translator groups and many translators complain that their income has increased and their workload has increased from translation as such, and then they have to adapt to become machine translation host editors. And this is again something else. And maybe if the young people hear all the time that it's useless because AI is doing it anyway, and they don't even see the difference between what AI does and what a human does, or how a human has to use AI. So maybe this is also a point that has to be very well established, so they can see the difference and that they can make a difference.
This is a very good point. Thank you for bringing it up in our agenda. We've been thinking, I mean, and my colleagues here in the different universities can reinforce that. We've been thinking about this for a while. You are right. Yes, artificial intelligence is doing translation anyway. We'd like it to be done our way, I mean, by assuring quality. So maybe the one emerging training area should be this post-editing, yes? But also starting from the revision as a process-oriented, reflective thinking of the translators. Okay, so yes, technology has been integrated. Yes? It is time effective. It is cost effective. How can we use it to our benefit and our clients' benefit? Otherwise, there would be no need for translators because this technology is affordable and available to everyone.
Not so affordable, I'm afraid, because for now it's
That's
like
what I was telling. I mean, and it is not affordable at the level to which it assures quality. Yes. It depends why the translation is performed and for whom. Because if it's a critical area like legal translation, medical translation, yeah, there is still a demand on the market. Yes.
And thank you very much for your presentation and for bringing up very important ideas that concern all of us. According to what you said before, I think we come back to another important thing that we should point out, the importance of knowing not good, very, very good, the languages, the importance of the language competence and the cultural competence. Even if we are doing translations, working a lot in the field of post-editing translation and correcting cat tools, we realize that we have to be not good, very, very good in knowing languages, in knowing cultural problems, cultural issues. And I think the students, our students should be more concerned also on realizing that without the cultural competencies, translation is impossible. And as our dean said before, we still need translators. AI is not so good so far, and is not so good so far, especially in trying to give answers in cultural issues. So as Professor Kirk Santamon pointed out, translation is an important key in every domain, in every field. So
it's a life skill.
It's a life skill. So maybe we should work together with the schools in changing something in the system. I know this sounds utopical, but I'm a teacher, so I believe in dreams, and everything starts with the dream. I think we should reinforce our collaboration. Yesterday we had at our university a very nice conference with the title Connecting Bridges. It was about how we should develop education in Romania. And I think this is an issue that should concern all of us. So the ideas that you pointed out today, in fact, go back to education and to trying to change something in our educational system. Another problem, and from here I would like to ask you a question, is the miscommunication between institutes. Working at the Romanian Academia in Bucharest, I noticed for almost 9 years that we don't know what our colleagues are doing. I'm talking about the books that appear in Bucharest, the translations that appear there, and I have to recognize myself that I didn't know about many great books that have been published until I have been working there. This is another problem that we, for which we should try to find solution, and I think this kind of conferences like this we have today is an example for how we can develop and try to communicate better, seeing the great program of all great speakers today. I hope that we can change something also in this field. If you have solutions for better communication between institutions, between publishing houses and universities and institutions for translation studies or translators in general, and last but not least, with people that still love to read.
Thank you for your openness, and thank you for acknowledging, yes, that good work has been done. What the speaker mentioned is in fact that for the first time in Romania, in fact there are 3 volumes so far. Yes, a history of translation into Romanian has been produced. The first, which was coordinated by Muguraș Constantinescu in the Ștefan cel Mare University of Suceava, which is the eastern part of the country, Daniel Dejica and myself. A huge and ambitious project just to have statistical data or quantitative data. The first volume counts 992 pages. The second volume counts 2,114 pages, if I remember correctly. Yes, and the third volume also counts about 700 pages. And for you to know that we are trying to visible, we'll try to reach you more often in the Romanian Academy. For the rest, I mean, we think that we have started networking, but we'll continue to not only strengthen but expand this networking. So your advice and openness, yes, is welcome on our path. I mean, the history of translation is now part of the reference books, although it's only in Romanian, and we've been encouraged by Professor Yves Gambier to translate at least part of that into English, because it is part of John Benjamin's library. Yes, I mean, referred to. Thank you.
Thank you once again very much, Professor.